Matthew Colville is an enigma. He is knowledgeable, he is well-spoken, and if you're trying to become a better dungeon master, he is probably one of the best people to watch. Because when I started watching Matthew Colville, I was actually discovering him after watching a bunch of Matthew Mercer D&D tips videos. He runs a show called Running the Game, where he bestows the endless font of knowledge about being a dungeon master and things that he has done. He's also a game designer, he's written fantasy novels, and he even writes comic books for Critical Role. Now, I've been watching Matthew Colville for a very long time, and in this video, I'm going to talk about 5 big lessons that I've learned from Matthew Colville. So let's get started. So the first thing is that there's really no guidelines to becoming a dungeon master. There's a lot of advice from the Dungeon Master's Guide. There's YouTubers, there's advice in Reddit and Facebook and Twitter, all of these places. However, there's no clear-cut guide of how you want to run the game. You can do whatever you want to do, and I think Matthew Colville really exemplifies this in his own game, which is called The Chain. Colville's game, there's no voice acting, there's no music, there's no Dwarven Forge, and for me, this was really big because it felt a lot more closer to reality, because I don't have a bunch of Dwarven Forge, I don't even have minis, just to come across the idea of, oh, I have to have music, oh, I have to make silly voices, even though I'm not a voice actor. I think that really helped me a lot and embrace the bare bones of becoming a dungeon master. He made use of what he had, and that's something that I've taken away in all of my D&D games. D&D home games are very, very different, and I think he explained this the best in his video, where he talks about the differences between an audience member or an engager or a protagonist, and I think he understands people and how they approach D&D. If the player wants to come up with a brand new character, Colville will talk to the player and figure out a way of how to make it make sense and eventually replace those characters in some sort of epic encounter or scene. Or if he doesn't know something, he'll just look it up, or he'll lie about it, which is pretty funny. He teaches that everything should be clear for the players. As a dungeon master, he recommends pitching your campaign, telling you about the expectations for the game, and I personally agree with that opinion. He makes it easier and more digestible for people like you and me. The next thing is that experience is the currency for knowledge. And what I mean by this is that Matthew Colville is constantly engaged with everything. He takes mechanics from other D&D editions. He also steals tropes from modules made in the Dark Ages, never even heard about. And just his longevity as a dungeon master and the people that he's talked to with is incredible. If Taliesin Jaffe is a god, then Colville might be up there as a demigod. And I really think that Colville's longevity as a dungeon master, it really feels like Colville knows what source to pull from when it comes to certain situations. The last thing is that running D&D should be fun and easy. Approaching dungeon masters as lore keepers, as this big role of carrying this big book around about our world and all of our adventures and making all of these monsters and tactics and all that good stuff, the more you run games, the more easy it should be. Now, with anything in the world, the more you practice something, the better you'll get at it. The DM is a player too. If you are having fun, then that means your players are having fun. If the DM is not having fun, then you need to fix something. You need to enjoy the game. You maybe even need to take a break, but it all depends on your willingness to get to work.